So it's been another busy week in the news. There's lots of things happening. We've got the latest on what's been going on with Activision Blizzard and all sorts of other stuff as well. So let's get to it. Hi, I'm Prob.
And I'm Rob.
And welcome to News Trash, where we take an extended look at the more interesting happenings from the last 7 days from the video games world.
On the videos, I've been doing this thing where before we get into the news, I'll have this little clip where I'll show what's coming out next week, or out this week, like a highlight. We're going to talk about this now. There's lots of things coming out in this coming week. There's a reissue of Hades on the Xbox, and there's a few bits and pieces like that. Glitch Punk, I think that's new. Godfall's getting a PS4 because apparently it could only be done on high-tech PS5s and PCs, but sales changed that.
Glitch Punk is that, that GTA, the original GTA clone, which is set in the cyberpunk future.
But the one I want to highlight briefly, we're not going to stick in this too long, is Book of Travels, which Rob has talked about before.
It's a strange idea, this. It's basically an MMO, but it's a social role-playing experience is how they phrase it. It doesn't hold your hand, and it's inspired by genre classics, but it's quite a passive adventure, and you basically are exploring a fairy tale world. And it's the kind of thing, I mean, the developer is called Might and Delight, which I love their name, and it's the kind of thing that really appeals to me because there's so many video games where violence is the key selling point. You have to fight all the time. And I love the idea of quite a serene experience, quite a, just an exploratory one where you can just go out and see the world.
Okay. So that's Book of Travels out on PC this week. Interesting. So let's just jump into the news, shall we?
Yeah, so just a quick thing before we go into what's happening at the moment with Activision Blizzard, because things have been happening. JL and Brack stepped down, we know about that, and their second quarter results were overshadowed by the ongoing abuse allegations. Now, what happened after that was that Activision Blizzard, they appointed a certain law firm. Now, this is a union-busting law firm, which nobody really agreed with. The staff at Activision Blizzard rejected the company's choice of law firm and sent a joint letter to CEO Bobby Kotick and the rest of the leadership denouncing their choice of hiring Wilmer Hale as the law firm. Bobby Kotick then came out and said he expected Activision Blizzard to become the very best example for other companies to emulate. And this was at a company's investor call with another statement reiterating the company's commitment to addressing the issues raised by the lawsuit. This is the current DFEH lawsuit by the state of California. And then you had another situation, which was Blizzard's HR executive leaving the company amid all these harassment lawsuits. And this was the HR executive, Jesse Meschuk, who left earlier last week. A new report has come out that, and this was from Bloomberg and the Washington Post, that Blizzard executives, senior Blizzard executives, like Mike Morhaime and the founder of Blizzard and other people who were there during that time, knew all about the allegations, knew all about the abuse, everything like that. And so they've come into the firing line in a big, big way. These are reports from multiple sources that have been quoted in the Washington Post and Bloomberg. And these are new things that have come out, not part of the lawsuit. So a lot of these skeletons are coming out of the closet for Activision Blizzard. It's the kind of thing where you see the slow collapse from the inside as, when the tree collapses because the inside is rotten and you kind of see it slowly teetering over. This is how Activision Blizzard is at the moment, but now they've just got another massive kick from their own investors.
Yeah.
Which is the big, big news. Because all of the other stuff is just preamble compared to what's next. They're facing a new lawsuit from their own investors, and their own investors have appointed Rosen Law Firm to basically take them to court. The lawsuit alleges that between August the 4th, 2016 and July 27th, 2021, purchasers of the securities of Activision Blizzard were misled by the company because it didn't disclose issues with its workplace culture that emerged in the current lawsuit by the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing. Some of the things that the new lawsuit alleges is that frat boy workplace culture that continues to thrive, that complaints for harassment, discrimination and retaliation made to HR and leadership went unaddressed, that the pervasive culture of harassment, discrimination and retaliation would result in serious impairments to Activision Blizzard's operations, and that as a result of the above, Activision Blizzard was at greater risk of regulatory and legal scrutiny and enforcement, including that which would have a material adverse effect, basically affecting the investor's profit margin.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are seeing the implosion of a AAA publisher.
Yep.
There can be no way that any company would survive this. There's too much damage at too much level, and at too many levels. This is basically like letting off a tiny little explosion at every single level of operation within Activision Blizzard, and the structure is collapsing in and itself.
Yeah.
All of this damage, no company can survive this. It just can't be done.
Do you remember when this story first broke and I said to you, I don't see how Activision Blizzard can continue as a corporate entity after this?
Yeah.
I was kind of prescient when I was saying that, wasn't I?
Yeah, when you say that, I think the company must continue to exist. I think what will happen is all of the management, all of the higher-ups, all of that will be gutted. It'll be completely restaffed, maybe a rename, a fresh brand, you know. Like, there's so much baggage with the Activision Blizzard name now that as Activision Blizzard, it cannot continue. So it has to basically put on a new nice smiley face and be that thing what Bobby Kotick claimed it to be, because Activision Blizzard, as it is done.
See, this is the thing. I'm of the opposite opinion. I think Activision Blizzard will actually be broken up. I don't think it can continue as Activision Blizzard.
It's either or. It's one of those two things.
Yeah,
will happen.
I reckon Activision and Blizzard will be separated, and other developers that they've taken over might go into a third group, but Activision and Blizzard will no longer be Activision Blizzard.
Well, the story that we never included is Embracer Group. So Embracer Group would just say, hang on, are you going to touch that? I'll have it. And then slowly.
Embracer Group is like, it's the guy at the party who's just gone there for the food.
Yeah, and it just has everything. Because they are slowly growing, like Tencent are, but at a much lower level. So we'll see. Embracer Group have learned the Netflix lesson really well, haven't they? Because Netflix used to do that. Go up to properties and go, you're going to have that. Yeah. It's interesting times. And Activision Blizzard, one way or the other, are done. Yeah.
Well, I mean, to make matters worse, as if the lawsuit wasn't bad enough. Yeah. It gets slightly worse. Because the Overwatch League, which is at one of Activision Blizzard's, money-making things, the Overwatch League has lost a number of advertising sponsors in the wake of the California lawsuit, and three of the biggest sponsors have decided, one of them, Coca-Cola, has decided to take a step back and reassess its support. The other two, Kellogg and State Farm, have pulled out entirely. I mean, when you lose Kellogg as a major sponsor for one of your money-making...
I think on a more core level, Coca-Cola are a bad company with bad standards and use third world labour, and they think, hang on, we're not touching this.
Exactly.
That is a statement unto itself.
I didn't want to go down that route, but you went there, so I don't have any...
It is true.
No, it's true. It's true. I just don't want some Coca-Cola representative someday, in a dark coat just going, you said bad things about Coca-Cola.
Yeah. But they're a publicly trading company in a public platform, so they open themselves up for scrutiny from any
they do.
level.
Yes, they do.
But the fact that this is happening, it's a house of cards, Activision, and people keep on taking out these supporting structures, so it's going to just...
God.
And in itself.
Anyway, Activision Blizzard is desperate for people to see that it's just business as usual, It's just business as usual at Activision Blizzard. They are so desperate. One of the things that's come out during all of their investor calls and various things like that, their president and chief operating officer, Daniel Alegre, when he was doing his second quarter earnings call on last Tuesday, he basically talked about the new addition to Call of Duty, or one of the new additions to Call of Duty, but this one is the planned one for the main series. It's going to be released for current gen and next gen. It has been confirmed. And Call of Duty Vanguard, as it's currently being called, it's being developed by Sledgehammer Games. That is still planned for release amidst everything.
There is going to be a lot of people who boycott that on pure principles.
Yeah. And not only that, they have also announced the formation of an internal mobile studio, which is currently working on a new entry for the mobile version of Call of Duty.
Yeah. People will be boycotting this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, this is a totally new Call of Duty game, not related to the current Call of Duty mobile game. So, yeah.
I'm going to make a bold statement here. We haven't seen a collapse like this in the video game industry since Atari. I'm going to go ahead and say that. Bold, I know that, but all the things are pointing towards that.
Yeah, they are. I mean, it's. I mean, part of me is sad because I remember the good things that they did in the past. But one of the problems is the reports from the Washington Post and from Bloomberg that came out about what was going on at Activision Blizzard basically said that developers they considered themselves to be rock stars and didn't understand why they couldn't enjoy the benefits of that.
Yeah, that's
all I'm going to say on that.
That is bad.
That's all I'm going to say
really,
on that, okay?
Really bad.
What also didn't help, right, and one of the things that fostered this entire culture in the first place was that, and this was mentioned specifically in the reports, Mike Morhaime, J. Allen Brack, and the president, they all married women who were junior staff members and younger than them. And because of that, it kind of, I don't know whether it was by accident or by design. I think it's by accident, but it kind of fostered this idea that the younger female staff members were fair game.
Yeah, I'm not touching that comment.
I'm just saying that that's in those reports. So read those reports. They make for interesting reading, I will say. Not very nice reading, though. Moving on to another developer in crisis, Ubisoft, another publisher in crisis. Ubisoft, Assassin's Creed Infinity. They announced that recently, but the Assassin's Creed franchise as a whole seems to be in a little bit of trouble.
Yes.
One of the reasons is because, Ubisoft Montreal has long been kind of at the helm of Assassin's Creed as a franchise, hasn't it?
I guess so.
But Ubisoft Montreal keeps losing key staff members who worked on Assassin's Creed. We're talking like developers, story creators, character designers. One of the more recent ones, Raphael Lacoste, he's left Ubisoft after spending more than 10 years at the company, and he's just the latest in a number of high-level creatives who've left Ubisoft and the Assassin's Creed franchise because of all of the upheaval. He said when he left, it was a nice home for me for 16 years, but it was time to do another leap of faith.
There's an analogy in another industry going on right now. I mean, WWE, basically, they've released about 50 wrestlers this year, which is a lot of people. A lot of people have lost their jobs there. But it's one of these things, once they're settled, they're out, like, is this what creative freedom is like? I mastered my own fate here. Because a lot of the people who want to be released were basically stuck in creative doldrums that were either being misused or doing the same thing over and over again. They were in creatively stagnant and creatively stale.
Yeah.
When they get out, it's fresh air.
Yeah.
So this feels like the same sort of thing.
Yeah. Raphael Lacoste, he's worked on the series as art director since 2012. And as the main art director on Assassin's Creed Revelations, Black Flag, Origins, and Valhalla.
Yeah, there's only so much you can do with the Assassin's Creed template. So I think my comparison is spot on, honestly.
There's a big possibility that a lot of these people who are leaving, somehow it's related to the lawsuit that's going on, but that's not been confirmed. Nobody's actually mentioned that. Not as far as I know.
It's probably
so far.
ongoing complications, so for legal safety.
Yeah, they're not saying it. Meanwhile, I don't know how to read into this next thing, because when kids, when you find something smashed in the house and you only have one child and no pets, but your child is standing in front of you going, it was like that when I got here. Yeah. I didn't do anything. That kind of thing. Take-Two, the CEO, Strauss Zelnick, has detailed what he builds as a zero-tolerance approach to harassment, discrimination, and bad behavior of any kind at the publisher, and they're claiming that they have never tolerated harassment or discrimination. Inclusion, diversity, and common decency is of paramount importance. I can understand in the current...
We know this is not true, because there's been reports of people who've worked at Take-Two and Rockstar and any other subsidiaries who said they're not a particularly pleasant place to work. They are rampant with crunch. It's clearly not a positive workplace. But the fact that he said this out, the way it came out, it's a suspicious way to say that. It's not prompted. Yeah. Nothing prompted this. He just came out and said this. So this is weird.
Yeah, do you see what I mean? When I liken it to the kid, there's something smashed in the house and you got no pets, and the kid's going, it was like that when I got here.
Yeah, and you get home and there's a tree in your front garden and the keys in the tree, and he says, what are you in the tree for? Nothing. I just like it up here. And then you go in the house and then something's crashed. What have you done?
Exactly. It's exactly like that, isn't it? I just like I looked at the story. I thought, why are you saying this now? This is like the worst time for you to be coming forward and saying anything. Most normal people in this sort of situation would be like, clean up the house quietly, don't say a word. Hopefully they won't notice us, and we'll sort all our shit out just on the quiet.
Yeah. This is weird.
Whoever we have to punish, we'll punish. We'll basically beat the crap out of whoever needs beating the crap out of, but do it on the quiet. Don't draw attention to us.
Suspicious timing.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. He has been, obviously, in the light of this, he has been asked if any of the current issues at competing publishers have made Take-Two rethink some of its policies and procedures. And he's replied that the culture of the company is well known internally and reasonably well known externally. All that said, we can always do better, and I think we're known to be people who always want to be doing better and never want to rest on our laurels.
Fair enough.
So I will leave it at that. Moving on to former Blizzard dev and the founder of Undead Labs, Jeff Strain, who is calling for unionization in video games. And I kind of agree. Well, there is no kind of, and I totally agree with him.
These creative industries... It's weird how much wrestling and video games have in common, because both industries have workforces that are taken for granted and that have no rights and can just be used as sort of props and components and tools rather than human beings. And this can't come soon enough.
Yes.
The video game industry is a car crash of an industry, and getting some sort of collective bargaining power, some sort of collective strength would only be better for the video game industry in the long run.
One of the things that you and I have both commented on is the fact that there needs to be more regulation of the video games industry as a whole. Because that regulation, and we're not talking about regulation in terms of what the video games industry releases, but regulation with regards to employment in the video games industry. Standards and codes of practice and things like that need to be enforced. And unions help enforce that. Yeah. Unions help enforce an employee's rights and the legal obligations of the company and stuff like that.
There's not much more to say about this, but all I will say is if there was a unionisation of the video game industry, there'd be an awful lot less stories about it being an awful industry to work in. And honestly, it gets tiring seeing how bleak of an industry it is to work with. So if this comes of anything, this is good. But that's all you can really say in the matter.
Well, Strain is calling for an industry-wide adoption of unions rather than just specific countries adopting this idea, which I agree with. I think it should be industry-wide. It happens in other industries, other entertainment industries. Why not the video games industry? Anyway, moving on to EA, who... apparently they don't get enough credit for how well they work with the studios that they acquire.
Right, I'm going to just run through a list here. Bullfrog Studios, 1987 to 2001. They were bought by EA. Westwood Studios, 1985 to 2003. They were bought by EA and mothballed. Origin Systems, 1983 to 2004. Are we seeing a theme yet? There is more. NUFX, 1990 to 2007. Pandemic Studios, 1998 to 2009. Playfish, 2007 to 2013. Black Box Games, 1998 to 2013. DreamWorks Interactive, 1995 to 2013. Phenomic Game Development, 1997 to 2013. EA. Victory Games, 2010 to 2013, bought by EA. Mythic Entertainment, 1995 to 2014.
Okay, I kind of get the point.
No, I've got to make the point. I've got to go through all of it. Maxim Software, 1987 to 2015. EA Salt Lake, 1992 to 2017. Visceral Games, 1998 to 2017.
I felt that one.
Oh, that hurt, that one. And I think that is it.
Do you know what that sounded like?
No, you don't get a bad reputation. You earned it, you sons of...
Yeah. Do you know what that sounded like? Do you know when you have one of those movies that's based on real life events about some war or some horrific thing that happened, and at the end of it, you have kind of a list of the characters, that, the real life people, and how they died or, things like that. That sounded like that. It was depressing to hear.
Yeah, just because you're doing well by Respawn and
at the and Codemasters at the moment,
and BioWare, doesn't mean you have a huge history of buying promising studios, mothballing them, and then making them do FIFA or something.
Please, sir. I don't know if they're doing good by BioWare at the moment because they seriously underestimated the desire for Mass Effect.
Okay, well, BioWare are alive and breathing.
Yeah.
That's about as close as I get to doing goodbye.
Yeah. Sony have apparently wanted to focus on console-quality AAA games for the PSVR 2. And this is on the back of them announcing various specs for the PSVR headset, which is codenamed the NGVR, the next-gen VR. And it's including the previously leaked resolution of 4000 by 2080, which is a ridiculous resolution for a VR helmet.
There's various factors that you got to take in board here.
Yeah.
One, AAA development depends on install base, and they need to really push this hard. This can't be another platform in which Sony say, oh, we're going to do handheld, and don't do anything with it. If you want AAA development, you really have to push this as its own separate platform. Not as a sub-brand to PlayStation 5, as its own separate thing.
Not only that, Sony will have to take the lead on it. They will have to show developers that it's worth developing games for the PSVR. By basically sticking their neck out and making games for it themselves.
I will say, I hope it comes good, because the thing that stopped me from getting VR is how trivial and throwaway its current titles are, with the exception of Half-Life Alyx and a few others maybe. So I hope it happens, but Sony really need to take this seriously. They can't just make statements and then half-arse it like they have a history of with other platforms in the past. Yeah,
I agree. The problems that Sony have kind of created for VR are kind of the rod they made for their own back.
Yeah.
Moving on, some happier news, because it has been kind of... it has been kind of depressing for the first portion, but Playdate, it's sold out in less than 20 minutes.
Playdate is this really weird little hand crank mobile thing that looks like a classic era Game Boy, and the device itself looks gorgeous. But it's weird design that they're going for with this game. It's not 8-bit. It's kind of like a shaded, cel-shaded weird thing. I don't know how you describe the graphics, but this is like lo-fi gaming. There's no way to describe it. You play it's a 250 quid. I can't remember how much it is exactly. And you get a subscription where they give you a new game every 2 weeks. And for that, this is a marginal niche thing. And for the bit of hunger for that sell out in 20 minutes, I think that is wonderful. Honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. And it shows just one of the things I love about the idea of Playdate and the fact that it's sold out is it shows just how diverse the video games industry is, truly is.
Yeah.
That something like Playdate, there's such a desire for it. And yes, okay, it was only 20,000 units. You can poo-poo that all you want if you're, into your big consoles and everything like that. But still, for a small niche thing to sell out like that in 20 minutes is amazing. Yeah. And I don't know any other industry that would happen in.
Wonderful news for Playdate.
Yeah. Speaking of which, some other good news. The Evil Dead game, the new Evil Dead game that was supposed to be a bit like Left 4 Dead and stuff like that, it's been delayed until February 2022 while they give it some extra polish to ensure this time it's the ultimate Evil Dead experience, and also add a single-player mode for those who can't or won't play multiplayer.
That is wonderful. Because honestly, I adore Evil Dead, but I'm not a multiplayer gamer.
Yeah.
So usually in this case, like look, Battlefield 2042, we took out the single player. All sorts of Call of Duties, we took out the single player. So many games take out the single player. And not everybody likes to play multiplayer. Some people like to just play as a distraction, as a bit of escapism, and not have the competitiveness, the hugely competitive nature of multiplayer game. They just want to experience it on their own. And for a game to put that in, I'm really, really happy about that, especially when it's a franchise that I have such a soft spot for, like Evil Dead.
The weird thing is, we're kind of seeing the rise of single-player games again.
It never went away. It's just studios are starting to realise their value.
Yeah, one of the things that makes me think that that's truly the case, and we're seeing more of an upswing of single-player games, weirdly enough, is the current popularity of Final Fantasy XIV, which is an MMO. Okay. It has such a strong single-player campaign, right? Such a strong single-player campaign that you could literally take out the MMO parts and just play it as a single-player game, and it would be totally fine. It wouldn't lose anything. So it's totally unlike other MMOs that are out there.
I'll let you have that, but
where they rely on stuff. But anyway, moving on to good news. Good news, everyone who is a fan of horror, especially Japanese horror. The Fatal Frame producer Keisuke Kikuchi has mentioned recently that it's possible a sequel to the very, very well-received re-release of Maiden of Blackwater is a possibility. In fact, it's more than a possibility. Yeah. So it's not a certainty yet. It's somewhere between the two. But I am hopeful because I would like to see Fatal Frame return in a big way.
I don't want to dwell on this story too much, but what I really like about this is video game developers are starting to acknowledge the history of video games. They're starting to realise that there's franchises that shouldn't have been left, franchises that still have value, franchises that can offer something to the video game market. And I thought Fatal Frame was done and dusted. And for this to come back, maybe, potentially, is good.
It's because the re-release of Maiden of Blackwater has done so well, and people have been playing it and going, why have I not seen this franchise before? Why have I not played a game like this before?
Yeah, it's about time the video game industry stopped having such a short memory.
Yeah, one developer that actually doesn't have a short memory and is wanting to do something like this for a while is Platinum Games. And it's interesting you were talking about reviving old franchises, because Platinum Games' chief designer, Hideki Kamiya, has he penned a PlayStation blog a few days ago, and he unveiled an unexpected sequel to the old Moon Cresta and Terra Cresta games from 30 years ago. There's a new game in the franchise called Sol Cresta, which is, I think it'll probably be out by the time this episode comes out.
Yeah, when you said Hideki Kamiya, I thought you were going to say Beautiful Joe's back, and I was like, I love Beautiful Joe, but this is before my time. This is way before my time.
Well, this is the thing. Sol Cresta is a vertically scrolling shoot 'em up, in the form of the other Cresta games, but the great thing is that it's reviving a 30-year-old franchise that, for all intents and purposes, was dead.
Yeah.
And what I love is the idea that Platinum Games aren't just going to focus on Sol Cresta, on the Cresta franchise. They've actually said they want to have other franchises as well. They actually had to go up against, I think it was Hamster Production, had to buy the rights off Hamster Production, I think it was, to basically make the game.
Beautiful Joe, Platinum Games. Beautiful Joe.
Maybe it could happen. You don't know. If they're focused on bringing back old franchises, we could have another Beautiful Joe.
Beautiful Joe is a beautiful game.
Beautiful Joe is...
1 and 2.
Yeah. There was another edition of the franchise which only came out in Japan, unfortunately.
But yeah, I'd love to see that back.
Yeah.
Time is right for it.
Yeah, another game. And the reason why I'm laughing at this is because I was a big fan of this game when it came out originally. And I know why it was released. It came out on the Commodore Amiga, and it was kind of the attempt to challenge Sonic and Mario. And it was called Zool, the ninja from the nth dimension.
Yeah, it was a Chupa Chups branding. It was so obviously Chupa Chups branding. They didn't hide anything.
What gave it away? Was it the massive Chupa Chups sign in the background?
Or the massive Chupa Chups sign everywhere in the background where you pass, and it's got like candy all over the place. And yeah, it was obvious. But Zool's a cool character.
The publisher Secret Mode has revealed it, and it's been developed by Sumo Digital Academy, and it's called Zool Redimensioned. Now, the original was released by Gremlin Graphics in 1992 for the Amiga, and it was later ported for the SNES, Mega Drive, Master System, Game Gear, and all sorts of other things as well, including the Acorn Archimedes, which is a computer that I have a very big soft spot for, and also had the first Windows operating system before Microsoft. Not a lot of people know that.
Who the hell do you think you are? Who the hell do you think you are, Michael Caine?
No. Anyway, Zool, I am really looking forward to this because I absolutely adored Zool. Zool was it was one of those games when it came out on the Amiga, it was the epitome of cool. And one of the things I love about this story is that there is a developer, a current modern day developer, that is looking at old Amiga games as well.
There's probably others, but that's another video for another time.
Yeah. Please, developers, look at more Amiga games. There's old games that came out on the Amiga and the ST and on the Commodore 64 and the Spectrum. We'd love to see modern versions of. Anyway, final story. I did mention Final Fantasy XIV, and anyone who's familiar with the game knows that there are multiple classes, multiple jobs you can do in the game. One of those jobs that you can do is you can be a chef. It has been confirmed that, because there has been a rumor that they were going to do a cookbook based on the game. It's been confirmed, and they are releasing a cookbook, Final Fantasy XIV cookbook, with over 70 recipes from the game with step-by-step instructions. It's called The Ultimate Final Fantasy XIV Cookbook, The Essential Culinarian Guide to Heidelin, and it's going to come with a foreword written by the game director Naoki Yoshida, and it's set to release on November the 9th, 2021.
Video games are weird.
This is for the absolute fanatics of Final Fantasy XIV who also cook, I would say. Yeah, you can be damn sure I'm getting it. I already...
One of the recipes was warm wine, which I thought, you don't need a recipe for that, you just put it in the oven. But, you want me to get it out but, you know.
It's got various recipes that kind of mimic what you find in the game. I'm actually kind of looking forward to this. I want to try some of these recipes.
It's a cool start to end on that after a week of Blake. After a series of weeks of Blake. So if you like this, do consider subscribing, clicking that bell notification, checking out some of the other stuff we did. We did a recent episode of Impossible Mission where we talked about the Steam Deck. We are looking to have a follow-up for that. I'm not going to say the angle, but we're looking to do a follow-up for that in the coming days. Please do consider checking out our Patreon. We have some interesting exclusive content and podcasts over there. Some of the Patreons are on the screen right now. Thank you to each and every one of you for continuing to support us. But until next week, where we'll have hopefully a little less trash and some more later news.
Bye!